Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Patient Reminder Module webinar. We've been doing this for about 6 years now, and we've fully integrated it into Practice Manager. We offer 3 services right now. The first service is the Appointment Reminder Service, and that reminds patients to come in for their scheduled appointments, and we can send that via call, text, or email. Our other service is the Recall Reminder Service, which brings patients back in who are due for a follow-up, and that's using the Recall module in Practice Manager. And then we have the broadcast service, which is an extra service. It's $75 to set this up, and that does 2 things. You can either alert your patients of emergency closings, maybe a storm is coming and you have to close early, or you want to send out mass announcements. Maybe the practice is relocating or a provider is retiring, or you want to tell them the shots are in. So let's go over each service. So first, let's go through the flow of how it all works. First thing you do is go to our website. We actually have a patient reminder page on our website. If you go to sticomputer.com solutions patient reminders, on there you can either click on ask for more information, or you can enroll now. When you enroll, someone from STI will call you and will set you up and train you on the appointment reminder services, go over the configurations you'll see in a little bit. And if you want recall, which is included in that setup fee, then we'll also train you on recall. And then we'll train you on recording the messages. You get to choose from templates for your text or your emails. You can customize it, make it your own, put your own logo in it maybe if it's an email. And once you record all your messages, you can pick a go live date. Within Practice Manager, you make sure you export and import every day so everyone's synced up, and then you'll get reminder results updated right in your appointment tab so that you can open up a time slot and call those patients to get them in, and then call back the patients who rescheduled if they did. So let's get into each one. Appointment reminders. So this one, for appointment reminders, you have to use the appointment tab in Practice Manager, and you have to have scheduled appointments because we send that data to RevSpring, the company that sends out these messages. And we added 2 new dialogues in Practice Manager. The first one is on the Patient tab, and it's called Patient Reminder. And this is where we actually pull the contact information from. We set up the primary as the cell and secondary as the home, but no worry, if there's no cell number, it'll automatically skip to calling the home number anyway. So we don't use the contacts off the Patient tab just in case they don't want to be reminded, or maybe they want to give you a different number to be reminded. So this is your opportunity to choose from a drop-down list of where they want to be called first, or maybe they don't want to be called at all. At the top, you can tell it, don't contact them at all for appointments, and you have the option to not contact them for recalls. Maybe they want one and not the other. Down at the bottom, you have phone calls allowed and text messages allowed, so you can do both. If your office only opts to do calls, you don't have to do all 3. You could just do calls or just do texts. But if you do calls and texts, then you can uncheck phone calls allowed and they'll just get a text. But if they're more old-fashioned, you can uncheck text messages allowed and just send out calls. But you have to opt in for that when you set up. If you're only sending out calls and you uncheck phone calls allowed, no one's going to get a reminder, so keep that in mind. So the other place that we put in a dialogue is how to configure Practice Manager, and it's tucked into add-ins, patient reminder module. And here you can actually tell the system what goes out the door. It's a lag, sorry about that. You don't have to send out a reminder for each practice or each provider or each appointment reason code. You can actually select which ones you send out reminders for. So we have a drop-down list here that you can check and uncheck your providers or appointment reason codes or schedule types, and you can change that at any time, and you make messages that correlate with these codes here. So to send every day, you simply come in here and you click on the export button. The date range will always be for 2 weeks, starting with today's date. We ask you never to change that date. We send out for 2 weeks at a time, just in case you forget to send out reminders. It has no bearing on when they're called or emailed. That gets set up ahead of time, which I'll show you later. There's a screen for that as well. And when the patient gets the phone call, first of all, your caller ID will show up on their phone, so they're more likely to answer the phone if they see it's their doctor. And that'll free up your phone lines because we're doing it from servers across the United States. We have servers set up on the East and West Coast, just in case there's a power outage or, something goes down, we can still make those calls on the West Coast and vice versa. And there's 3 parts to the call. The first one is usually a recorded message by someone in your office, which is customizable, which I'll show you in a minute. The second part of the call is a professionally recorded woman speaking the patient's name, appointment, date, and time. And then the third part of the call is the option to press 1 to confirm or 2 to reschedule, which we highly recommend so that you can actually see the results in the appointment tab when you import the results. So in the first part here, you would have like a pre-recorded message. Maybe you would have a script. We also have templates that you could use to go by if you don't know what to say, but usually what you usually say when you call them, hello, this is Main Street Medical calling to remind you of your upcoming appointment. And then you can say whatever message you want, like please remember to bring in your insurance ID or copay. So this could be, your main thing, whatever you want to say. And then this is where it gets all customizable. So you can have different messages per each schedule type, which is your location. You can have messages for each provider, and you can have messages for each appointment reason code, which is your appointment type. And then what we do is we put those messages together and we equalize it so it sounds smooth and not choppy, and it comes out as your appointment is at our West Main Street location with Dr. Smith, and then you can have any kind of message you want for the appointment reason. Maybe it's a lab work, so they have to fast before they come in. So you can say, please fast for 8 hours, or whatever the message you want to send them. So that's where you can get highly customized on what messages you send them, especially for COVID. And the second part, then we have a professionally recorded woman that speaks the patient's name, appointment, date, and time. We combine calls too, so if, say, you have a husband and wife that come in to the doctor and they have the same phone number, the system will automatically pick that up and it will say, David and Sally have an appointment on Wednesday at 1:30. It also combines calls in that if the patient has 2 appointments in one day, when it speaks this part, it will actually say the earliest appointment time, figuring you need to be in there for the first one. You already know for the second one. So that will save you some money and also the patient some stress. And then in the third part of the appointment, this is where we offer for them to press 1 to confirm or 2 to reschedule. Now, if they were receiving a text, they could also text back, confirm or reschedule. And if they receive the email, they can also click on confirm or reschedule. And all of that information gets sent back so that you could see it on your appointment tab. Now, when they do hit 2 to reschedule, I just want to note that we don't actually reschedule the appointment in your appointment tab. We just notate it in the confirmation results so that you can reschedule that appointment and call the patient back. So here's just a small snippet of the lots and lots of configurations and filters we have in the background. I know it's not pretty, but just to give you an idea, we can set how many days ahead of the appointment to make the call, how many days ahead to make the text, and how many days to send the email. Now you could do all 3 or just 2 or just 1, but we'd usually recommend to split it up between a day because we have a feature called cancel on confirm, where if you call them, say, 4 days ahead of the appointment, and they actually pick up and they hit 1 or 2 to confirm or reschedule, then we won't bother texting or emailing them anymore. They've already confirmed or they already said they need to reschedule. No need to bug them anymore. But you could also turn off that feature and you can call and then text just as an extra reminder so that they don't forget. So that's totally up to you. But we always give them a day in between, to give them time to actually respond. We can set up what time of day to start calling and not before, and what time at night to stop calling and not after. This is where we prompt them to confirm or reschedule. We can send an email to anyone or multiple people in your staff if someone does hit to reschedule or responds back reschedule, so that you can call them right away and open up that time slot. We can have do not call days, so maybe you don't want to call them on Sundays or the weekends. We can certainly do that. And we can set a max on the attempts per day and a retry interval. Now, a retry interval, say calls start going out at 10, we only use retry when we can't get through. So say at 10 o'clock, we'll start calling out. We'll try the primary preference, which is cell first. If there's no number or it's busy, we'll try immediately the secondary number, which is home. Now, if that's also busy or disconnected, then we'll wait so many hours designated by you. This one's 4, and we'll try again in 4 hours with the primary and the secondary. So we'll keep trying based on how many times you tell us to up until the time you tell us to stop. And then at the bottom, we have an overdue notification email, and that's for when someone forgets to export data. So you're supposed to export and import every day to keep us all synced up. As you get new appointments and cancellations, we need to know about them so we don't send out reminders erroneously. And if you forget to export every day, we might not be up to date. So we can actually send out an email to someone, say, hey, you forgot to export within so many, 24, 48 hours so that we can get synced up. Here we go. So now when the calls are all sent out, now you would click import, and after import you get this report, and that tells you everything that happened from yesterday's or the days before's results. It'll have the account number, the patient name, whether it was successful or it failed. So if it didn't go through, by the way, you don't get charged if it failed. But if it did get through, it'll tell you if it needs to reschedule, if they hit, 2, if the email was sent or text was sent, we can tell if they actually get delivered or not. You have a one chance to print this report. After you hit close, it goes away forever. You never get it back. But you don't need to because this has actually all been updated in the appointment tab right in their appointment. But some people like paper, so for those who like to check off a list, you can certainly print that list every time you import. For the others, you can come right into the appointment tab, and it'll be shown right on the appointment screen. If you have this show confirmation status checked for each workstation, you can see it says needs to reschedule. But you can always double click that appointment, and this is the actual field that we're updating when you click import. You can download any one of these, so if it needs to reschedule, you know to give them a call back and reschedule that appointment. Confirm verbal is something that we added in after the fact. We had a few cases where a call went out to the patient and they were shopping, and we left a voicemail. And when they came home, they're good people, so they called the office back directly to confirm that appointment, which circumvented our system. We didn't know that they called the office back directly. So we reminded them again the next day. So if someone does confirm directly with someone in your office, or say they just made an appointment today and you don't want to bother reminding them, you can click on confirm verbal on their appointment, and that will assure that they get dropped from the list to be reminded. So that was a nice feature we added just for that. Good people who are calling back when they should. Okay, so recall reminders. So this is for bringing patients back who are due for follow-up. In order to use the recall reminder service, you actually have to have recalls in Practice Manager, which might be a whole new training. So patient recalls are in the Charge tab and Patient Recall sub-tab. And this is for people who are, I've seen offices for follow-ups mostly, 6 weeks, 6 months, yearly visits, annual visits, or people put these in for no-shows. If they didn't show up, they want to get them back in. So you would have to enter a recall into the system, and when we send out recall reminders, it will pull all the recalls that have a fulfilled flag of no, and that means there was not an appointment set up for this recall yet, so they need to call. So you would send out these recalls by going back up to add-ins, practice patient reminder module, but this time you click on the recalls tab here. And the date range is a little different here because this is recalls. So usually offices do this on a month-by-month basis. I've seen some bigger offices do it on a weekly basis, but you can choose your date range here for which you want to send the recalls out for. And you have to keep track of that because once you click export, it's going to call them, right away. And if you click twice, it's going to click twice. So you have to be very mindful with recalls. Just pick your month and send them out. And then you would have to wait a little while because recalls, it takes about a couple hours for those recalls to go out. They're not like appointment reminders. So I would say within half a day or within 24 hours, you can then click the import button and to get your results back. Much like the appointment report, this one shows you the account number, their name, their recall date, where they contacted, and what the results were. Left a message in machine, text sent. There's no confirm, obviously, or reschedule, so it's just going to tell you if it made it or not. You have a one-shot deal to print this report as well. Once you hit close, it goes away forever, so you can print it, but again, you don't have to because we updated it right in Practice Manager for you. Once these recall reminders go out, it'll be updated right on that patient recall tab here with the date that they were actually texted or called and how they were reminded. Maybe did a call or a text or an email, and that would show up here. You could also see that over same information on the Inquire screen, just a different view, and it will always tell you exactly when they were reminded. So recalls are pretty easy. Broadcast service is an extra service that we have, which is actually quite fun. We can send out announcements to anyone you want. Of course, if you'd want to do that, you would, contact me and we'd get a report of any number of patients you want. We can do any patients, any report out of Practice Manager I can manipulate. So if you want it just for a certain facility or certain, zip code, we can certainly work with that and help you make a message to send out. For emergency closings, you can send out messages to your patients. You have to have the appointment service up and running for that to work, though, so that they already have and they already know what patients they have for today for a certain date. And then you would select those patients and record a message and, something like the office is closed due to weather, and then you can send it out at a designated time, or you could just send it out, as early as possible in the morning. So that's really, I've had a lot of offices that rave about that. It's really a lifesaver in the winter. Okay. So this is all, the pricing is a one-time setup fee of $250, and that includes setting up the appointment and the recall service within 30 days together. If you don't use recalls right now, we could certainly help you set that up so that you can start using it. If you're an RCM client, those setup fees are waived. And then the rates are based on a volume per month. We combine appointment reminders, recall reminders, and any broadcast you send out as, all reminders, one lumped together. So if you have between 1 and 1,000 of them lumped together, then it's 19 cents. And then, of course, if you have more, 1,001 to 2,500, it drops down to 17 cents and so on. And there's no contract, so there's no worries. You can cancel anytime. It's literally just flipping a switch and clicking a button. So there's no worries there. But most people absolutely love this service. And that's all I have. Thanks for coming, and thanks for watching.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Nicely done. Chris, do you have any questions on the group?
There is one question. I have a question regarding recall reminder tab. So instead of choosing the postal mail option, we are choosing text.
Actually, you would only choose that if you were reminding them yourselves for the recall. When you click import for the recalls, it updates that automatically with how they were reminded. If you sent out text recalls, it will say text. If you sent out call recall reminders, it will change to call. So you don't have to touch that field. It updates for you.
And was that it?
I think that's it.
All right, well, we'll give you a chance to think of some more questions. Before we go, I have my email address and Sharon's on the screen. If you want to contact us directly with questions, please do. And we have some upcoming webinars that may be of interest to you. On May 12th, we're going to have another user group webinar. This is pretty exciting. This is a brand new product of ours, which is the patient online payments module. And what this does allows you to send out a patient statement, and rather than having to mail in a check, the patient can actually sign on and pay their bill online. So it's something we've been waiting for quite a while. And that's integrated with the practice manager billing system. So that's probably something you're going to want to attend.
Yeah, it's awesome.
On both May 5th and June 9th at 12:30, we're going to have a webinar for surgical practices and centers, medical centers and surgical practices, as well as ASCs, about products and services that SDI has for that segment of the medical marketplace. And then on May 19th and June 23rd as well, we're having another webinar at 12:30 about billing options that allows you to bill and talks about a revenue cycle optimization program as well. So that's what's coming up. Any last questions, Chris?
We have two more questions.
I thought we would if I gave them time to think.
The first one is, does the cost/call, is it per appointment or is the cost per attempt?
It's actually per a successful reminder. So we only charge when you actually get through. We get through to the patient. If we get a disconnected or busy or any of that, you do not get charged for that. We only if we actually get the text sent and it goes through. If the email goes through and not comes back, and if the call and if we leave a voicemail or if they actually pick up, that's when you get charged. So if you are sending both calls and text, that's two separate reminders and you'll get charged for both, not per appointment, but per reminder type if they go through.
Sharon, here's another question. We are already set up for all services. Quick question. Can I add emails for notifications for our office, or do you have to do this?
Email, you mean for broadcast or for appointment reminders?
That's not clear.
Can you read it again? Maybe I misunderstood.
Okay, sure. We are already set up for all services. Quick question. Can I add emails for notifications for our office, or do you have to do this?
Well, if it's for appointment reminder service, they can call RevSpring to set up the email template. You know, they have to make it their own. They have to put their own words and logo in it. That's something that they would have to call in to do with RevSpring and then set up how many days before, you know, the appointment to actually send it out. If you wanted to do a broadcast and you already have PRM, then you would simply call me and we would do that together.
And there's one final one. Can a patient ever receive a reminder with an incorrect date?
No. Not that I know of. I couldn't even think of a possibility because when we send out that 2 weeks of data, it's sending out their appointment date and time and contact information and what schedule and doctor they're seeing. So, yeah, I've never had that happen.
Well, this is interesting. This same person said, we have had a patient report that their reminder was for the wrong day.
Well, every time I see something like that happen, it's usually that they have two practices or they actually had two appointments and one was rescheduled and they didn't export in time every day or, you know, in a timely manner. So it's usually a timing issue or they have multiple practices. So for those, I would like to dig in and figure out which one it is. I could certainly call them if they need help.
And there's one final one. I don't quite understand this one. She says, I currently get the email. I would like to add additional staff. Oh, okay. That's probably to remind them.
Oh, to remind them, yes. You can call me for that. I will be happy to add them then.
Okay. Terrific. I think that's it.
Okay, we're just 2 minutes late, 9:32. Well, thank you everybody for attending, and hopefully we'll see you in another upcoming webinar. So again, thank you for coming.